everybody. Welcome live to the Jim Master Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Take a look at your screen. This is the roster of incredible guests we have here, some real talents joining us on this broadcast. We welcome everybody watching all around the world. You see all those fabulous, famous names on your screen. Rob and Birk and Samuel, Nikhil and Conor are all here, and they're all here to talk about Dead Whisper. Yes, it's a really cool thriller, a new horror movie that they've been involved in for about 2 years, and it's literally hot off the presses. And here they are. We welcome them all to the show. Hey, gang, how's it going?
Hey, howdy.
Good. Thanks for having us, Jim.
It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We welcome everybody who's watching around the world. You guys are free to chat in the JMS chat room, as we always say. Drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from all around the world. And one of the faces you recognize right in the center square is Rob Evan. And Rob is a dear friend of ours and of our series. And of course, you know Rob from Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Rocktopia and everything Broadway. I mean, he's been doing so much. He's one of the great talents of our time. And his son is literally right above him, and he's lead producer on this incredible movie. So we welcome Rob back to the show. Rob, good to see you.
Great to see you, Jim. As always, my friend.
Rob and I, yeah, it's a pleasure. And Rob was a guest on our show. If you didn't see that episode, gang, check that episode out. And also, I interviewed Rob several times on PBS. You may remember that when he was a part of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and of course for Rocktopia, which they launched on Broadway, which was a smash hit as well. And his son Birk is right above the center square there. Birk, again, a fabulous producer extraordinaire. Birk, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's actually great to finally meet you as well, because I did see the interview that you did with my dad a couple years back. So it's all coming full circle now.
Now you're putting the puzzle pieces together, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope whatever they said is true and we meet your expectations.
And
Conor is here, and Conor Soucy is the director and writer for this incredible epic movie. Conor, welcome to the show. It's good to have you with us here as well.
No, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
A pleasure. And look who's here as well. Sam Dunning is an award-winning actor, and he is joining us. He is one of the lead actors in this movie. Sam, welcome to the show as well.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
A pleasure. And Nikhil is here as well, and he is an epic and award-winning composer and musician extraordinaire. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate you having us here. It's great to chat.
You as well. The pleasure is all mine. So everybody wants to know, we're going to show the trailer. We've got these really cool photos you guys have sent, some behind the scenes exclusive photos of the making of the movie and all. But how did the idea of this movie come about? How did you guys think of it? What was the process like putting it together? I know Birk was telling us off camera that took about 2 years to get it all together. How did it all start? The inspiration? How'd you get it going?
It's you, Conor. Take me.
Yeah, that's Conor. That's Conor.
Yeah, so probably about 2 years ago, I went to sleep and I had this dream about waking up on a ferry, and I kind of stirred awake and there was no one on the ferry, and it was a boat off the coast of Cape Cod, and it took me to this island, and I got off and I walked through the island, and there was all these people speaking in whispers. And I woke up and I was terrified, and it was just this really haunting nightmare. And that stuck with me. And I think the initial conversation was with Nikhil. You and I were grabbing a drink at the Sherman, and I was working on a different screenplay at the time. And I said, I had this crazy nightmare. I thought it'd be, a cool idea for a film. And you said to me, you're like, look, you got to go make that movie right now. And so I had some savings. I put that into a proof of concept, a short film. That was, everyone here worked on it. And then we took that and we turned it into a feature after some conversations with Rob and Birk and the entire team. And it was a really easy story to expand. And at that time, I had a close relative pass away. And so we decided to take the story and focus it on the theme of grief, which is obviously something that's done in horror a lot. But I think we added our own unique spin to it.
That's really, really cool. So you have the idea, but then you got to sort of put the people together, build the team, generate, the funding for it, take out of savings, borrow from, Aunt Tilly, all the things it takes to, put the money together and get everything together. What was that process like?
Sure. Well, I think it started with the short. That was mainly me kind of pulling out of the limited savings I had. And, luckily I had already had great relationships with everyone here. I'd been friends with Birk for years. I'd worked with Sam before. Nikhil and I were good friends. So that really helped the short film come together. And from there, I think that's where the conversations kind of shifted with Rob. And, Rob had a great network of people who were really interested in getting involved in the film. And so we spoke with them. And I think that's where that evolution happened. And we all had to put on our business hats and kind of switch over from being creatives for a solid, 4 or 5 months to try to get that funding together to keep this project alive and keep it going. And fortunately we did. And we were able to get back on set with each other.
When did you decide that you guys wanted to do, a thriller or horror, sort of a psychological thriller? And I love psychological thrillers of all kinds. I mean, I'm even like a Twilight Zone, as much as it is psychological. I love those sort of twisted endings. There's somebody in the closet, somebody under the bed, what's happening, as opposed to it always just being in your face. But your mind plays with it as far as, what's around the corner behind the bush kind of a thing. And how did you decide that that's sort of the direction you guys wanted to go in?
Yeah, well, I think that kind of came from my taste at the time and a lot of the movies I was interested in. I was interested in Conversation with Gene Hackman, Rosemary's Baby. I just saw Don't Look Now, which is just a fantastic horror movie. It's become one of my favorite films. And all those films, what they have in common is they're subjective. So everything's from that, perspective of the main character, and you see through their eyes. And so I think when you take that concept and you merge it with psychological horror, or horror in general, it becomes very psychological because it's through the eyes of the character. So as they're being manipulated by these dark entities, it sort of influences the entire visual style of the film. Mm-hmm. So, I think that was kind of the big challenge, but also the exciting opportunity for us all to do. It did require Sam basically to be on set every single day of the shoot because he's basically, other than one scene, in every single scene of the movie.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times when it is a psychological thriller type of thing, I think that sticks with people even more. Just because you're kind of like, did these things really happen? Could this really happen? You know what I mean? It really plays with you where I think people talk about it more. It sticks longer with you. I mean, like something like The Exorcist, would you categorize that as a psychological thriller in certain ways?
I don't think I personally would classify it that way. I still feel like that's sort of
pure horror.
Great horror. I mean, of course, there's still that whole psychological element. I mean, I feel like that those genres blend and
Satan and the seances and all of that. Yeah.
I feel like, there's hopefully what the viewers taking away or the audience members from Dead Whisperer is they walk away and they go, well, was it all in his head? How much of this was something that was an internal struggle and something that represents how we can lose ourselves in grief, and balancing that, I think, with the traditional horror elements of like a real devil in disguise that Rob, so perfectly portrays in the movie. But I think that's where that psychological line is coming into it, is how personal it is to the main character.
What's amazing about Rob, and I've observed this about him, and he's very humble about it, but you give him an idea and he builds it into like, you can give him a rock and he'll turn it into Rocktopia. He will, if you give him an idea, he takes it and he digs in and he's all in and he brings everything he has and he makes the phone calls and he gets it all together. And I've seen him do that with various entities and productions and things that all have been successful, which is really amazing. So how did you guys team up? How'd you team up with Rob and Birk and everybody else?
Sure. I think, well, with everyone on this team, you know, I mentioned this before, but we already had friendships and relationships, which I think is really important anyways, like with this line of work, because when you decide to go make a film, you're going to basically have to devote 2 years of your life to it. And so it's a lot easier when you're doing it with people that, you know, you care about, people who are friends. So I think that was a starting point. I think, you know, I think I was talking to Rob on the phone and I said, you know, I think maybe we should make this a feature. I think I want to go forward in expanding the idea. And he said, you know what, I want to be a part of that. I was like, yeah, I was counting on you being a part of it to make it happen. So, you know, I think like it was just kind of given that everyone was going to work with each other. And from there, we started doing weekly calls. I mean, Birk, Rob, me, and then I would kind of, you know, cue everyone else in on the progress of it. But yeah, I mean, Rob definitely had a lot of guidance on the direction for this project from the other endeavors that he's done. And, you know, despite the fact that I think, you know, this is Rob's first movie, it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like this was familiar territory for him.
Exactly. Rob, did you want to follow up on that and your involvement when you first heard about the idea of this, and tell us about how you got involved?
Yeah, I mean, my history with this is I've known Conor for years through Birk and his older brother, Johan. And Johan is an actor in LA, and Birk just finished his master's in screenwriting at the London Film School.
Congratulations, Birk.
Thank you.
Conor, Johan had starred in several of Conor's short films, including the one with Sam, which I thought was just wonderful, their chemistry together. And I always thought the world of Sam as an actor. And I think Sam, honestly, is somebody that we're gonna want to all attach ourselves to, because he is on the rise. And I'm sure you'll get him to tell you about what he's involved in right now, too, because it's really exciting stuff. And Jim, you know, I think I don't know if I even talked to you after I went through some health issues after the COVID and our COVID interview, and kind of came out with a new perspective in life, which was to work with who I want to, the people I want to, and to do the things I want to that make me happy, and not because I have to.
Right.
And you know, Conor is so talented and such a visionary, and he's also partnered with a cinematographer that we're going to all do great things together. My family believes in you know, building the family legacy of Birk and his older brother have started a company called the Birk Gran Productions. Conor has Howling Hound, which led this film, and Birk was our lead producer and really made the day-to-day on this thing happen. While I was more of a kind of a, you know, big picture guy figuring out how we're going to get to the finish line. And Conor and Birk adapted as needed. And that's what you have to do to make a film. I learned what I thought I was going to get into unfamiliar territory, but really, you know, I've been on the stage acting with amazing directors for 30 years. And, you know, Birk guided me, Johan guided me, Conor guided me. I played off of Sam's energy and realized that good acting is just good acting, period, I think. And you know, I used to believe in that on stage. So, you know, it was such a fun experience doing the short with these guys. Of course, I want more. And, you know, playing these guys, these characters, you know, if you really think about my career, you know, even though I was classified maybe as a leading man, you know,
Jean Valjean, I mean, everything.
But I've always played characters, you know, Valjean or Jekyll or Kerchak or the dentist, or all of those parts have been characters. So I'm a character actor. I've always been a character actor. And Conor was able to give me some points of influence that he had to play this character, because honestly, it didn't jump off the page in how I could go, oh, I know who this guy is, you know, but he gave me some great inspiration, like Orson Welles and things like that. Of course, I knew when we got to The Demon that was just going to be my bread and butter, because I do that. That's what I do. And because this part, I think, required more of a theatrical performance.
Right.
It worked. Now we'll see if that translates into the next films. But I think that again, following these guys and the on-set experience was so professional. I talked into a good friend that's been in the business for a long time. He came in and did a favor for us, Bruce Wynett, as Mr. Reynolds in one of the scenes, and he came to me after and said, "Rob, I tell you, I've done a lot of movies, and even the big budget ones, and this set was run as about as professional as the set that I've been on." So that's kudos to Conor and Birk and the whole team, and everybody just enjoyed. This was a little movie that could. And, we're having a great time with it. The good and the bad and the ugly is literally one of our reviews. And that's kind of, I love and hate. I don't do well with right in the middle, so some folks are passionate, love this thing, and some just don't get it. And I'm thrilled about that. If it was just like, then we didn't achieve our goal. But these guys made a movie that's, going up against the big ones right now, and it's holding its own, and we did it on a micro budget. So it was a great experience all around for me.
That's fantastic.
And then also, last plug is I needed the music portion to be,
yes,
because that's so important to me, right? And everybody been bragging about Nikhil, and I got to meet him obviously several times, and we attended Conor's wedding together, and which was beautiful in Sedona. It was magical. And Nikhil is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, but he's so freaking talented. And his themes and the way he writes music and what ended up in our movie is literally way above what we could afford. And, using live strings and all of that stuff, is my sweet spot, Jim. What I love. And Nikhil, it's such a moving score, and that's so important in doing this genre. And as a producer, I believe this genre can be well achieved and successful in an independent film world, and with a very small budget, because people, love this niche. They love this genre. And we didn't deliver a straight horror. It's not that. But the ones that really, they sat with the movie, at least the feedback that I've gotten, and go back several times, they go, it just sits with me. I can't let it go. And that's what we all hope for. So
that is fantastic. Nikhil, what a great intro. I don't even need to do one. And he's right. I don't think I have not seen a picture of you anywhere on the internet or anywhere where you don't have a smile on. You're a very happy guy, joyful guy, which is great. And living the music and living your dreams sort of help accentuate that. Good to have you with us as well. Tell us about, again, some of what Rob said, maybe pick up on that as far as being involved and getting the feel of the music that would match the whole feel of the movie.
Absolutely. So, Rob, thanks so much for that amazing intro. I'd been friends with Conor for a while. I had scored some of his short films, and so we would talk about film a lot, and just kind of about music and its role in film. So it already felt like we had a shorthand when we decided to kind of approach working together on this, and it was great because we would sit and watch, let's say, a rough cut or a fine cut on his TV screen, and he had a piano sitting in the corner, and I would react in real time and sit there and write out ideas, and we'd try out ideas and just see what works and what doesn't. So I think that impetus of trying to figure out what is the thematic approach, what is the historian's theme sound like in real time as we're experiencing the movie together, that was a very special experience, because it's not very often that you get to do that with a filmmaker. Usually the film is done, you get the final cut, and then you're just off to the races. But with this, we could have a dialogue from the earliest points of it and onward. And so it really felt like I got to see it in various stages, which I feel very grateful for. And that shorthand really helped. And then, just the on-screen performances were amazing, like Rob's performance, Sam's performance, their on-screen chemistry together. So watching, when you're watching this footage over and over again and really trying to get into the subtext of, what does that grief represent? Where does the descent into madness really begin in the film? And trying to capture that musically, it becomes, quote unquote easy when you have inspirational performances like that. You kind of can immediately start diving into it. And then I also feel very fortunate that I had a great team with me. So the score won this CSAC and New Music USA Real Change grant. So we got some funds to record live instruments, which, like Rob was saying, live instruments are just so important to really all of us. And the scores we grew up listening to, and we had lots of conversations about that as well.
Yeah, and live instruments are like rare these days.
100%. Yeah. And it's like usually budgets don't allow for them. But, I've also found that there's ways to do things where you can have a couple of instrumentalists, and that can be a huge impetus of the score. Like, for example, on this score, we had a percussionist who played a bunch of different sounds on A24's The Green Knight, and also the Netflix Hellraiser film that came out. So he was an expert at designing sounds. So he had a whole percussion studio, and it was like a playground. We're trying out ideas, recontextualizing them. And, that just the percussion itself became the basis of like 3 of the main cues in the film. So, it's just amazing what even one instrument, if you're limited by one instrument, what you can do. And then we were fortunate, of course, to have a vocalist who, Abby Lyons, she sang on the Wheel of Time, and I had worked on the Wheel of Time series, so that's how we became friends. And so she was involved, and Ashley Jarmack played a bunch of like woodwinds, Mayan death whistles, all sorts of things. So we were really just experimenting. It was kind of a musical playground. And then I found this instrument from Thailand called a can, and it's like a woodwind, a vertical woodwind.
Yeah.
So I ordered that online, didn't know how to play it, and just tried out ideas. And it was a lot of that kind of experimentation. But I think the lucky part is we had those conversations about the themes of the subtext of the film, and then try to how to write themes that would hopefully exemplify that. So that was kind of the journey of the score.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I want to let everybody know a little bit of the background as far as who's doing what. Of course, as we just learned, Nikhil is the composer, composing all this fabulous music for this incredible film. And Conor, of course, as I mentioned, director and writer. And Rob, executive producer. He plays the bartender, the historian, William Porter. He wears a lot of different hats in this and has invested a lot of the time in it as well. And Birk, who is Rob's son, of course, lead producer. Tell us about the role of a lead producer for the viewers who are watching and wondering, gee, what is that about?
Well, you're obsessive about logistics and about making sure everything runs smoothly. I think, when Conor brought me on to help out with the short film, it was a lot of doing that. And, he had the script already written, and I really dug it. I was like, this is awesome. Totally. I feel like even a new kind of genre where you're setting it in New England and it's horror, and it's kind of creating like this new atmosphere, which I found really interesting. The characters I found really interesting. Obviously, eventually we cast my father, and I thought that was even more motivation to just be in this project, because the way that his acting style, for example, as Jekyll and Hyde, the way that worked, I feel, for the historian and the bartender was quite similar, and maybe he feels that same way too. But I just felt like it was the perfect role for him to get started in film. So being with Conor, being with everyone else that I've known for so long, these were just like amazing motivation things for me to, produce this film and take care of everyone as best as I can. And then obviously when we realized that this could be a feature, a big thing that the lead producer was definitely helping out on was making this pitch deck. Me and Conor were meeting weekly, putting together different things, getting ready for pitches, whether we thought those were real pitches or just rehearsals. But it all turned out really well. We did our prep work. so a lot of being a producer in general is just the amount of prep work that you're doing before you're going to shoot. So I remember it was one of the 80s that we worked for, or he worked for us. He was very pleased with how much prep work we had done, because it made his job a lot easier on set. So yeah, I guess the job of a lead producer, especially on like independent level, is making your job easier and everyone else's jobs easier while you're on set.
Is producing something you always aspired to, or did this just come your way?
I had, I did a 4-year degree at Emerson College. So I did I did some short films, produced, directed, wrote. And I always knew that I was very organized. So I feel like, it was kind of a natural way to go down. And then also I felt it would be a cool opportunity for me to learn that side specifically. And
you probably watched some of your father too, right? You probably watched, like, soaked up some of the things he was involved in to see how that all comes together.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the fact that he put a show on Broadway, I couldn't help but look up to him. And then also just growing up from, even though I never inherited his amazing chops, his vocal chops.
That's not true, Jim. He just wouldn't sing around me. He's got amazing.
That's Well,
you didn't want to debut anything on the Jim Master Show exclusively, did you, Birk?
All right. Maybe after a couple of drinks and some karaoke, but
because Nikhil can grab his guitar and pluck something underneath you.
Yeah, exactly. Conor plays the piano, so yeah. But no, so I feel like growing up watching my father on stage, I was always just attracted to the idea of story and picking that apart, and also finding, even like in a sort of a theater, what truly makes like audiences emotional and gets them engaged in a story.
Right.
So from that point, I definitely got invested in the idea of storytelling, and then I went down to filmmaking. But from the producing aspect, everything my father did, all the connections he's made, and all the things he's put together, it's just, it's very inspirational.
Big league stuff. Absolutely. Really
I'll add
cool.
one thing, Jim. When we needed to start fundraising portion, Conor and Birk put together an amazing pitch deck, and I wanted to use a friendly person to test it on, honestly. And they pitched so well that he was the first investor. They got him right away from that, what we thought was going to be a rehearsal pitch. So they did. Wow. Everybody played, had a title in this thing, but oh my God, it was a team effort on so many levels. Conor wore so many hats. So many hats. He continually does. He still does.
He is tonight.
The pushing this thing because, we can talk later after you've talked to our real star over there about the world of independent film, and then getting it placed with a great distributor like we did. But that's only the beginning of trying to, have a film make some sort of splash in a giant ocean of Hollywood. And Conor works hard every day to make this film, get out there and get seen. And we're having success, honestly.
You are, yeah. I've heard a lot of positive feedback, which is really, really fantastic. And saying hello to all the viewers watching around the world who are commenting in the chat room, welcoming all of you guys. And some are our viewers, some know you guys, and they're saying hello as well. And Sam, welcome to the show. And we really appreciate Sam being here, because it's a very busy day for Sam, a lot going on, and other things that he just, I think, hopped in a cab and just got here in like 5 minutes or something just before he went live. Welcome, Sam, to the show. How did you get involved and take on that role of Elliot?
Well, Conor already kind of spoke about how we got to know each other from a prior short that we'd worked on called A Parable for Winter. And that, if I remember correctly, I think that was just straight through submitting on Actors Access kind of blindly. And I think that's how we originally connected on that short. And then when Dead Whisper, formerly Whisper, the short, was was coming together, Conor reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got another thing coming along. Like, would you be interested?" And you know, me being an actor that's not a household name, and I was like, "Yeah, of course. I need work, please." But also, you know, having worked with Conor before, I was like, well, I know that it's going to be a good project. It's going to be fun. It's, you know, like whatever it is, it'll be a good, like, there will be good people involved, Conor and Ben and just everybody included. And so, so that was how I got involved initially. And then after the short was shot, I want to say it was January or February. I can't remember the timeline exactly, but Conor reached out and he said, "So I'm editing the short. It's feeling a little long. What would you think about something bigger?" And I was like, "Yeah. Make me the lead of a feature now. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Do that. Yeah. I'm very grateful that he did, because I think that it really, not to say anything negative about the short, but I think that just that fleshing the short out was a great idea, and just like opened so much more opportunity for the plot, for the characters, for the visual iconography, just every aspect of it. It opened so many more doors for me, for everybody involved, both creatively and, you know, thematically. So I think it was a great move.
How do you describe Elliot from your perspective, Sam?
Depressed and scared.
Yeah.
Basically one or two.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I describe him kind of as the audience surrogate. You know, I've said this in a few interviews before. He's not the most fun character to play, because you're kind of serving the audience. And not to say you can't have fun in spots, but because it's a character that's dealing so heavily with depression and
right,
bottling up his emotions, it doesn't let me get to have as much fun as, say, Rob. And so like it's got a bit more of that burden of like, you have to be relatable, you have to keep it as grounded as possible. So no big swings, like it has to stay down here. And honestly, I think that was a very nice challenge for me. I had just come off another film where I was kind of doing the exact opposite. It was a very high-minded, like, or high concept comedy, and I had to play extremely manic the whole time. So in contrast, this was a exact opposite, where it's like, all right, now everything has to be contained, no big showy stuff at all, just keep it all down.
You know, as an actor, Jim, I think those are the hardest characters. And to be able to have to stay passive somewhat through the whole experience, but yet believable. Right. That's what Sam really pulled off. His subtlety is so strong. And that's really, you know, I'm watching his performance for, you know, a next performance and going, all right, take note here. It's because it's simple and it's small, but so believable, you know.
We have the trailer, which is really, really cool. The production value is very, very high end. I mean, it looks like a lot more dollars and cents were a part of this project, and just seeing it and the way it's shot and the lighting and the editing and all of it, the music, everything. It just has that feeling like this was a even bigger budget movie. Was that something? I mean, it has an intimacy to it, but there's this sensation that it's a bigger budget that was underneath it all, which isn't always easy to craft and to master. Was that something you guys were hoping for, that sort of feel and look?
I think that was kind of like, it's aside from the core value being the story, I think the second thing we were all kind of working towards behind the camera was making it feel as big as we possibly could. And, you know, we really loved the story and we were all really excited to do it. And I think the idea was, once this is done, if it feels like an independent film, no one's going to want to watch it. I mean not general independent, but like, you know, if it feels its budget, no one's going to watch it. And so I think that became the challenge of like, okay, we need to really make this feel like a bigger project, like a much bigger independent film than what it really is in terms of the budget and the scale behind it. And I mean, huge kudos to that is to my cinematographer, Birk Gran, who's just a fantastic DP. And he really set the standard with the work on the short film and with the cinematography. And I think like when we went into doing sound design and post-production or working with Nikhil, Ben set the standard of, hey, the film looks incredible. Now the key is to have everything else hold up to that quality point. And so I think post-production became really important. So the cinematography is obviously, beautiful, which is interesting for a horror movie. A lot of people keep saying it looks beautiful, which I don't think you hear a lot. So that's something where, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, the sound design by This Is Sound Design, that's the company's name, is This Is Sound Design. They did a wonderful job with the mix. I mean, I think the film sounds huge also on top of looking huge. And that's something I think like we're all just so immensely proud of. I think the sort of films we've had the luxury of being talked about with or being in the press about, we're like, wow, we can't believe that they're featuring our film in the same article as these two $10 million movies. That really has been a dream come true.
And this was shot in a couple of different locations, right? Not all in one spot.
Yeah, we filmed it over, I think like we did some math on it over like 250 square miles of Massachusetts. We filmed it out, in Boston and Provincetown and Brockton and Foxborough, in Plymouth, like across the entire state. We did some of it in Rhode Island. The ferry's actually the Block Island ferry out of Rhode Island. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're really proud of the New England roots. And, we traveled a lot on this. And there was a lot of, 14-hour days. And then Birk and I are loading people up into the car and driving them 3 hours out to Provincetown for shooting the next day. It was just kind of insane, but we wanted to keep it authentic to the location.
Which is really cool. Anything you guys wanted to add to what Conor just said?
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like a testament to sort of the production value for how low it was all this work that we were doing, also getting these amazing locations. We are sort of Massachusetts men. I mean, more so Conor, I would say, than me, but we both went to school there. So we knew a lot of people just in the area. We knew the right things to say. We really wanted to find these like amazing locations that you might not be able to get without a lot of money. And we managed to find them. Especially like Provincetown was super special. I feel like that was one of the coolest parts for me in the whole shoot, even though it was tough at times with weather and whatnot. It was very cool to be out there in the dunes, to be coordinating with the town itself. We even had like a police escort for a whole day to make sure that everything was running smoothly. And I had vacation there a lot, so it was like super special to be shooting a film there. And just the landscapes were incredible.
So if you were in Massachusetts, I bet you heard a lot of Wicked Good, especially with a thriller.
Yeah.
The emphasis on the Wicked.
We filmed the bar scene at a very cool bar in Worcester.
Worcester, yeah.
What was it called? Steel and Wire? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, Steel and Wire. Yeah,
and,
great place.
They filmed American Hustle there. So in the back room there. So really cool vibe. And then, out in Provincetown, poor Sam, it was, when we did the short, it was freaking cold out there. I know for him, and he was out there and with those guys, and those were national park protected areas that we were allowed to get on, and then running around probably more than legally we should have been or they should have been. But it's like the magic of making something like this is fly by the seat of your pants productions, and they had their shit together so well. And because we had such limited takes, everybody had to nail it. Everything was on the line. It wasn't like we had a lot of time, because the budget was so tight and everybody was going into their credit cards and trying to figure it out. And, it's kind of amazing. It got done and placed that early with a really great distributor. So,
and in the time period that we're in right now, and the cost of doing business, and still, coming out of that sort of just the timing of all of that, and to be able to pull this together in the way that you did is quite a feat as well, huh?
Well, the Screen Actors Guild were going on strike at that point, too.
Right.
So I think our last day of principal photographer at the Screen Actors Guild struck that next day. Not that affected too much of what we were doing, but still just the whole idea, and the writers had been on strike. So it was kind of, we thought maybe we were making a movie at the right time because of the need for product. But I think, regardless, this movie followed its own organic course, and we made it in a very natural, organic way. There was nothing that I thought was kind of like, Conor, wanted certain things that the budget couldn't provide. So he just figured out a way, to make it happen, building an hourglass, with his dad or them going into the New England studios and, picking, we'd had that telephone booth that, somebody put in the back of their truck. And then I think there was a point where we lost some keys on the dunes for a rental car, and there was some adventures, but
swimming with the sharks,
a little bit. Sam trying to pull a boat into the water, and then it's like, well, but we can't shoot the scene that's coming after that, so let's just make sense of it, shall we?
Right, exactly. That is funny. So it was like a 2-year process, is what it really takes.
Well, we filmed this in what Conor and I and Birk called benchmarks. Yeah. So I don't think Conor is going to shoot his next film quite like this.
Never again.
but
once you get the Oscar after that,
for a freshman, debut film, I think I couldn't be prouder of
it's really, and we have that trailer for everybody to see. There it is, gang. Do any of you want to preface the trailer before we show it, or just show it and chat after?
Conor,
you can show it. I think feel free to get right into it.
All right, here we go, folks. Hang on to your hats. Here it is. Dead Whisper. It's the trailer.
Could you sign your name for me? It's vital that I keep a record of all our guests.
I'm really no guest.
Anyone who sets foot in my home is my guest.
No, it'll be good for you. Put a suit on again?
This pain that I have with me, that's all that I have left of her.
Take a trip. Someplace away from all these distractions.
I may have to go to Nantucket for an important case that I'm working.
How perfect. An opportunity to distance yourself and confront this burden. Bless your soul.
What do you mean?
Only from what you've mentioned about your baby.
I told you that?
You told me everything.
Is everything all right?
Why, yes. Everything is exactly as it should be.
Incredible, guys. Huh? Was that you doing that, Rob?
That was me.
I was going to say, really, like I said, it just has a real feel of something that would become sort of like a cult classic in a way. It just has a really, and the selection of New England with the whole, the history and of course Salem and all these different things. I think that was such a great choice to pick that region, to make it the home base. Great job, guys, huh? What do you, when you see it, like even when you see the trailer, how do you feel? It's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to put it all together. Birk?
I feel nostalgic because it feels like so long ago now.
That was
shooting.
Right.
but I also feel, very accomplished. I think what we've all done as a team together has been amazing from just start to finish. So it's kind of, there's a bit of like shock, like, oh my gosh, are we here right now? Have we made it this far? And we're in select theaters, we're rising charts in Apple TV. It's very surreal. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. How about you, Sam?
Oh, I mean, it's always so exciting to watch. Yeah, I mean, every time I can't help but smile at Rob delivering any line. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That and just I mean, like seeing just Ben's cinematography, like in a trailer like that, you're just like, oh yeah, what massive Hollywood movie is this that I'm watching? Just that funny thing that trailers do to you when it chops a lot of the context out and you're just getting little snippets, and it's just like
Little
when
pieces.
it looks, yeah, but just like the fact that his visual mastery just makes it look like $1 million is crazy.
Absolutely right. Connor?
Yeah, I've seen that trailer probably
In your sleep.
500 times. So I just feel like I'm, in a deja vu. I don't know. No, I do. I love it. And what's funny is about that trailer, I mean, it still gets me excited to watch the movie. And I'm like, wait, I made this movie. I already know what happens. But no, I'm so in love with this film. And it does bring me a lot of joy to see that trailer now, because it was so hard, I think, to do this and to get across the finish line. It was 2 years of our lives, and everyone gave it so much. So there's a lot of pride when you see that trailer and go like, oh yeah, we finished it. Okay, that's great. Especially, this being, my personal feature debut. So
congratulations on that too. Absolutely. Nikhil, how about you and just seeing it and hearing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of echoing everybody's point. It's surreal to see it all come together. I think it's one of those things where when you join a project like this, you do it because you love the idea, you love working together, and it's like, when you're involved in the process, you're not really looking at it as an observer. So you're just doing stuff to the best of your ability with faith in each other and kind of faith in the idea and the process, and you're kind of doing things, the best you can. And now that it's been some time since, the film has been out and the trailer's been out and stuff, like, we can slowly start to remove ourselves from the participant of the process and look at it as an observer as well. So it's really nice to see, and kind of surreal to see it come together, and almost try to look at it as like an audience member or something like that, and go like, yeah.
I love that you said that, because that's such an important thing. And I've referenced that on the air a lot of times, and even off the air in conversations I've had. Anytime we do this kind of work, you can almost be perfectionistic about it. You're striving for excellence. You can be very hard on yourself, demand a lot. So when sometimes you first see something that you've done, I've even had it when I've heard things I've done on radio, or I've seen something appear on television that isn't live and it's re-airing or what have you, or debuting. And when I first see it, you'll hear all the rest maybe saying, oh, that was great. You nailed it. Good job. You're the best, blah, 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 blah. But when I first see it, it's with a critical eye, and I'm seeing it through my eyes, my lens out. So I'm seeing it as me seeing it for the first time, and I'll be deducing certain things and sort of editorializing on it. How can I get better? Or should I have done this? Should I have said that? Blah, blah, blah. But when there's time that has passed, I could pull out, tapes of work, or, video or whatever of work, downloads of stuff I've done from, a few years back, and have a different appreciation, a richer appreciation, and now actually hear what the producers and maybe other people were trying to say, that was great, or you nailed it, or whatever, because the emotion, the fresh emotion of it has subsided. The expectation and the build up, and did you do well, and did you nail it, that has sort of subsided. Now you can be the viewer, you can be the consumer of it, and there's a different eye and a different appreciation, which I think is really cool. You sort of let up on yourself, and you get to let it wash over you in a different way. So I love that you said that it's really important to see it that way, and that's how you see it now, right?
Totally, yeah. And I think, to your point, Jim, that idea of time being the key element in, that transition of the process. And I think the reverse is also true, that like you can't really be an observer and a participant at the same time.
Right.
So you're in the process, to really be fully present and in it, and not be constantly thinking about the outcome, but more about the process, I found is the best way forward. So yeah, it's interesting, that distinction, I guess.
The thing, probably being in the creative arts, feel that kind of camaraderie in that way. It's kind of like if you're going on vacation and you're doing all the selfies, make sure you also take time to enjoy the vacation. Don't look through the lens, but and climb the rock or do whatever you're going to do, swim in the ocean. How about you, Sam?
Sorry, rephrase the question for me.
We're sort of like, how when you see it and how it feels, and now it's all come together and it's sort of airing. And do you see it with a different eye now that there's a detachment to the expectation and anything that you self-impose on yourself, as far as striving for the best and all the rest? Now you get to see it as almost like a viewer would.
Yeah, no. I absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm probably one of those few actors that I do enjoy watching myself on a screen. Enjoy if I'm doing it right.
Right. You learn, you critique, you could learn different things. Right.
Yeah, I have to learn that way, right, Sam? I mean, I believe that. I come from the school that you have to watch.
Right.
Who's the one that said they don't? Is it Johnny Depp or somebody?
Well, there's a lot of actors
that said they will not watch
the way I was taught
anything that they've done. Yeah,
was rehearse, perform, and then screen, because you do need to see where what's the good and the bad.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised sometimes, even with television people, fans will ask, or have you, not here but just in general, oh, you must remember that episode of this series you're on, or that series, or whatever. And some will be, no, I actually don't. We did the thing, we moved on, and I went on to the next series or the next movie.
And that's
or the
next mindset.
Project.
That's a mindset.
Right.
That, people protect themselves in this business that's so terrible.
I prefer to stop and review it, and it helps. Maybe, you can learn certain things, try it a different way, or maybe just appreciate what you've done. I think it's great to review. How about you, Conor? Do you review things, and do you have that appreciation now, detached from everything writing on it like it was when you just did it?
Well, yeah, I think everyone's laughing because I'm probably my own biggest critic. I mean, I'm definitely one of those people who
I think we all probably
criticizes my own work to an extreme. And, I think especially when I get together with our cinematographer, Ben, we'll sit there and just start talking about the film. And all of a sudden, 3 hours later, we're just tearing it apart about, why do you make that? But then, and then you get past that. And every time I sit down, I watch it. My experience is different. So sometimes there's a part of the movie that I go, what was I thinking there? And then the next time I watch it, I love that scene. And so I think that communicates that we made the right decisions on the scenes we have in there, because if it was, time and true again, a specific scene doesn't work, or you really can't stand it, then I think that it's a problem. But I think when that's shifting, it's like you're really kind of just projecting yourself onto it. And I think where we ended up with this film, I'm really in love with it. I think it's not like a lot of movies today. And I think that's because of the team we had here and its independent roots. We were able to do something that it doesn't really spoon feed the audience. I think if you want to really get into the meaning, you got to give this movie a second watch, because about 35 minutes in, it just completely changes. The movie just changes into something else. But there's a lot of things in that first 35 minutes that comes back in at the end. Tons of small details, and a lot of thought went into that. So I think I see, I'm doing it again. I have a lot of, self-criticism, but with this one, I just think miraculously, for us kind of just coming together and making this happen. I think we ended up with the best version we could have had, considering especially the resources we were working with. I mean, there was other scenes I wanted to put in, but we found creative alternatives that I love. You know, there's a really disturbing scene. Not so disturbing, you know, the viewers can't watch it. You should watch it. It's not that kind of disturbing, but it's an unsettling kind of suspenseful scene towards the end of the movie. And it's just something every time it comes up on the screen. I've seen it, you know, in the theater a handful of times, and you look around and everyone's just like, whoa, like it really affects them emotionally. And that scene came from budget restraints. You know, we had to come up with a creative way to plug something in there. And so, you know, I think, you know, whatever criticisms I might have, I'm just really still happy with the final result we got.
Which is terrific for you to be pleased with it. Who is it for? Did you have an audience in mind when you guys were creating it, or was it for anybody? Did you have that, you know, ideal audience in mind?
Yeah, I think for me, I wrote it for people like, you know, there are one on this call. I mean, for this team, I wrote it for. I just like every time I wrote something for Elliot, you know, I just really thought about Sam in that part and trying to give him something he could appreciate. And the same thing for Rob. And I think, like, especially through conversations with Nikhil, who's a great friend of mine, lots of conversations with my good friend Ben, it's like, you know, it's a movie for people who love movies. And I don't think you have to love movies to appreciate it, but it really is a nod to, I think, this era of filmmaking from the 60s and 70s that has kind of since passed in a way. I mean, every once in a while there's a nod to it, but it really is a throwback horror. I mean, that was really the intention, that if you were an audience member in 1970, you could walk into this movie and be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This should be playing right now. I mean, that was really the intention. So I think people who love those movies, we made it for them.
Earthquake could sense around when the seats would be moving in the theater when the earthquake was happening, or Towering Inferno, all of those. Poseidon Adventure, another one. My God, going back in time with those. How did you know? I've asked this question of a lot of people over the years when they've created something, especially when it's something like a film or a song or a book that they've written. What was the hardest? Getting started, knowing when it was done and you were happy with it, with the last period on the last sentence, and you can walk away from it and say, okay, it's done? Or was it the middle, bridging what you already knew you wanted as the beginning, what you already had an idea would be the ending, and bridging those two worlds together? I asked that of an author once recently, and I said, you know, most people will say, well, it was the beginning, just getting going, putting those first words on the paper. Others saying, knowing when to stop rewriting it and editing it and over editing it and letting it be released to the world, my baby be released to the world where I'm comfortable with it. And then one person said the middle was tough because they had an idea of the beginning, had an idea of how they wanted it to end, but bridging those two together was difficult for them. How about for you guys?
Well, I think in filmmaking, I mean, I'm kind of looking at it with what you were saying as development, production, and then distribution in terms of the beginning, middle, end. I mean, when it comes to the story, that's kind of a different animal. But in terms of letting it go, I think the end of the process was probably the most difficult. Sometimes it feels like we never really did let it go, and that I can still sit down and tweak something and then send it to the distributor and have them update the cuts, which I've thought about. But I
edit. And
I can't do that at this point. But every time you see it, I mean, for me, I always think like, oh, if I could just touch that up,
tweak it a little, right?
Yeah. So of course those feelings just creep up every once in a while. But, you know, I think getting it started was fun and exciting. And I think doing it was the best part. I mean, making the movie and being on set. And then for Nikhil, we were working on that score. I mean, that was so fun to hear that come together. But I thought it was a really fun time to be on this set. I made a little movie with my friends when I was either high school or college. No, college. And we just got together and we just would shoot on the weekends and we cut together something. It was terrible, but it was that. But we thought we were going to go to Sundance and win an Academy Award for it. But you know, we were just having fun making a movie, and I think this felt like that on set. I mean, it really just felt like, can you even believe that we're doing this right now? At least for me personally, but I did feel that energy on set. The crew had fun. There was never an argument, never a blowout, never a confrontation. It was just fun. And I think that's so unique to this project. I hope it repeats itself, but I do think it was special with this movie.
Absolutely. How about you, Nikhil?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think sometimes it ends up being the beginning part that is the toughest to get started. You really figure out what the themes are and that kind of a thing. And oftentimes I find myself in that situation. In this, it was very interesting because it kind of felt like I was constantly discovering and rediscovering the score over and over again up until even a couple days before the final delivery. It was like the craziest thing. Like, you know, because I was constantly experimenting with instrumentalists, I had all these wonderful resources to pull from, and we were trying out ideas and then recontextualizing them. There was a lot of experimentation right up to the very end. So, you know, there's a vocalist that I mentioned earlier, Abby Lyons. So there's a kind of a vocal tag at the very beginning of the film. At start, the first thing you hear, and then kind of in the end credits, you hear her again very prominently. And that idea came, I think, like 3 days before I delivered this.
It was literally 3 days. I remember it. Yeah. It was, I mean, you sent it to me and you were like, what do you think about this? And then it was like wildfire. We're like, we got to put that in the, like, what are we doing? This needs to be throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just such a unique, amazing sound that suddenly felt like, oh yeah, that's our movie. And that was, probably 3 days before.
Yeah. And it was like that over and over again, really, from the beginning right up until the to the delivery, all these ideas that, you know, and it was one of those things where I always feel like it's better not to over iterate and overthink things. But this was one of those rare cases where iterating, every time we were iterating, it really was crystallizing better and better. So just a unique kind of a process, I think. And that was probably also a testament to the fact that we had such a good, you know, working relationship and friendship, and so we could try crazy ideas and run crazy ideas by each other with full trust, you know, and it was all in service of like trying to tell the best story musically possible. So I think that made it easier to try ideas even in the later stages.
Which is awesome. Sam, did you have an opportunity, you know, sometimes the performer, the actor, the person that's right in front of the camera has an opportunity to participate in where they think the character should go, or maybe the character wouldn't say that line, or did you have input into your character, or was it just a matter of here are the lines, follow along with what we have already for you? Did you get a chance to get in there and add to Elliot from your own perspective, not just as the performer, the actor, but in terms of the development or tweaking of who Elliot is?
Yeah, I think I definitely did. I mean, Conor is a very collaborative filmmaker, and I'm also a filmmaker as well. And so more often than not, at least when I'm making things, I try to encourage the actor to say their lines in their own words, because everybody's got their own lexicon of words that they're comfortable with, and what works in your mouth might not in somebody else's. And it's just, and so it's Conor thankfully like gave me the room to, if I was reading a line and just like, you know, on the page and going like, I don't know how I would say that believably. Do you mind if I do this? And so, you know, he was very receptive to that, and it was very easy to just navigate any scene and just kind of like be able to say it in a way that is as believable as I can deliver it. And, you know, we were never too beholden to the dialogue unless it was, you know, hyper specific things that needed to be said in a certain way. So yeah, I think that I was like, I don't know how much more I brought to Elliot. I mean, Elliot he's kind of, again, I'm not saying he's not a deep character, but it is again a very what's the word, closed off character, just because of where he is emotionally through a lot of it. And I think the most I got to kind of emote was a scene where I got drunk with Rob's character, and that was probably the most I was able to like bring of myself in like a kind of a fun, entertaining way to him, just because it was this one of those few moments where he was able to actually open up. And then the rest of the time I had to fully, pull it all back in. That said, I did what any actor does, and you just kind of try to bring yourself to the circumstances, and kind of wherever your head is at that day, that's who the character is going to be, and then you just try to live those circumstances.
I'd love to, just for the audience, in terms of finding out a little bit more about each of you. Sam, tell us a little about you have a fabulous resume. You've been doing this for, a good while, and you're a very talented guy. Tell us about, what inspired you to go into acting and performance, and how this has all come to pass for you even before this film, and some of the things people might be familiar with your work.
How I got into acting is it's actually it kind of ended up being a backwards way that it happened. I actually went to film school originally, and then that kind of all went over my head, and I got out of film school and ended up in a dead-end retail job, and was very upset with and couldn't figure out why I was so unhappy, and realized it's because I wasn't doing anything creatively. And so, with nothing really to lose, a family friend said, "Hey, well, I know this acting teacher, if you'd ever want to just give that a try." And so I was like, well, I've got nothing else going on right now, and gave it a shot. Immediately fell in love with it, and so started submitting shortly thereafter. And then basically, I think 3-4 years after that, I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted to be getting, and that's when it dawned on me, oh, I went to film school. I could make my roles for myself if I want to. So then I think it was 2019 when we finally finished and went to festivals, but I made a short horror comedy called Rick and Ruby, and we took that all over the place, and that had myself in it. And that's really how I got that kind of, since I made that film, it's been kind of a nonstop. That's led to more projects that opened so many more doors to me, just people I met through film festivals. And then, it gave me the confidence to now make my own feature, which we shot last summer, and will be coming out in hitting festivals in 2025. So that's the long-winded version of how I kind of got into all of it. But now I'm fully in between, act. It's easier to jump on a project as an actor than to make, something from the ground up. But that said, I'm fully entrenched in both. I still love acting, and I still love making my own projects.
And making the projects as well. How about you, Nikhil?
Yeah, so I actually kind of started from a band background. I loved playing in bands, and so I played in some, and I started one in LA. And it was kind of a rock band, and so we toured around a little bit, and I sang and I played, keyboards. I was kind of working on a film here, a film there during that time, but it kind of dawned on me a few years into that process that I love writing more than anything, and it wasn't enough to release one album every year or 2 years, and I wanted to broaden my musical horizons and try writing in different styles and stuff. So, media scoring, film and TV seemed like the right fit. So around 2016 or so, I started pursuing that full tilt, and then I was freelancing for a number of years, and then I ended up reading a fantasy book series called The Wheel of Time, and I was so enamored by it. So I wrote a theme and I recorded it with the orchestra, because I'd started using orchestra for films that I was working on, and that led to meeting Lorne Balfe, who had the series to score, and he hired me to do additional music on a bunch of his TV shows. So that was kind of my boot camp for, learning how to work with a big team, learning how to, economize when it comes to live instrument recording, and how to experiment and use one instrument or use 60 instruments, and how to make that work in the context of both the budget and then also as a world building device. So yeah, that's kind of what led to, and then it was really helpful for Dead Whisper actually too, because taking those lessons and then figuring out like how to maximize what we have and the resources we have, because even with the grant, it was still limited resources compared to any even mid-tier budget film. So it's figuring out how to best use those to tell a good story musically. So yeah,
and you have this ability to bring things together. You have ways to make these unique sounds too, right? That come out of what you do that a lot of people have paid notice to.
Yeah, like I've always been fascinated by instruments from different cultures, because they've always been played traditionally the same for hundreds or thousands of years even. And so if you take them and you put them in a different context and you have them played kind of the wrong way, the non-traditional way, suddenly people are like, oh, that feels like something different, but I don't know where that is. It's not like they're thinking, oh, that belongs to a particular culture or geographical location. So that also can be used as a world building device. And so that tie instrument, for instance, in the case of Dead Whisper, ended up being, it almost feels like it's in a few scenes where it's like the siren song, calling to Elliot. And no one thinks of that instrument in the context of that score and goes, oh yeah, that sounds like Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
not
Right,
the
exactly.
first thing that comes to mind. So it's fun to experiment with that. Yeah.
And Rob, of course, is, as we've mentioned, a veteran, accomplished actor, singer, producer, 30 plus years of professional experience in the entertainment industry. And during that span, he's done everything, performed in 10 leading roles on New York stages, Broadway, television, Rocktopia, of course, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and on and on. He's played for presidents, sports teams, you name it. Everybody loves Rob. What interested you in wanting to go into the arts and entertainment in the beginning, Rob?
Really? You want to hear my story?
You can condense it.
Yeah, I mean,
for the audience that's new and they're like, "Oh, Rob."
Yeah, I'm a singer. I grew up singing and played football at Georgia and studied finance and ended up in Les Mis 30 years ago. So I then started having kids with my wife Beata and needed to keep working. So luckily the work came, after 10 shows in New York, and then my touring with TSO and then Rocktopia building. So now we're in the film world, and
which is cool.
We believe in all of these guys. They've got my partners and I. We there's a lot of scripts among these guys here in development, and we believe in all of them. And obviously, I want to make more music with Nikhil in a on film and in my world of live entertainment. We've got Rocktopia. We're working on the new version that is
cool.
Way soon to be revealed by this fall, and then Conor's got a beautiful new script, and he brought Sam on board to work on that with him. I believe Sam, with his short, has a bigger movie there, and then we've got the Brothers Gran, which I've been asked to join. I guess I'm on the board. I don't know what my seat is there with your new company, with your brother, but Birk has a strategic plan of what he's going to do. Birk is a fantastic writer. And so my whole point is to enjoy life, promote family. And these guys are part of my family now. So this is something that I know we're going to do more. And we're going to learn from our mistakes, and we're going to financially as well as creatively, we're going to find what audiences want, but yet we're not going to cater to audiences. I think always the way I believe, and I know these guys too, is we make the product that we're passionate about. It speaks the best to us. I don't really care if people love it or hate it. I do like to work on projects that financially will be feasible. And I believe that Dead Whisper is one. And I know that we found an IP there of the idea of the island, and what that represents is something that we can look into further. Another thing too is that we were talking about taking, collaborating or on our lines, if I may kind of shift back over to that. But Conor wrote for me what, if you read it, doesn't seem like how a normal person would talk. But once you really figure out who this guy is not from this time. He's from a different time. So if you look at it that way, and a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't spend enough time with a movie like this that is a slow burn and requires a little bit of intellect. There are a lot of people that just want those jump scares, and that's fine. We didn't make that movie for you. We made it for us, and because we're dealing with the idea of grief, and it's a big idea, and how somebody would handle that. And is he having a terrible nightmare, or is this really happening to him? That's up for the viewer. It's all individual. But I believe in how they served it. I think all the information is there if people just pay attention. So,
what was it like working on this project with your son?
Well, I mean, it was a gift, is what it was.
Yeah.
It was a gift, and he's tough, but he knows what he's doing. And he showed me that right off the bat, and I just trust him. I believe in him, and he's got a vision of his own, and I learned from him. And it was a wonderful gift for the both of us to actually be able to work on something together. And I know that we're going to do more.
And same question for you, Birk. What was it like working with your dad?
Well, I know him in his element so well when he's going to perform or act. So that was something I was already quite used to. But to actually work with him on the same thing and towards the same idea added a whole nother level, I feel like, of just bringing us closer and making us stronger. So, my father, he's a great actor, but he's also a great businessman. And now that I have my own business and he's a part of that as a board member, it's great to get his advice and to bounce things off of him. So yeah, going into the future, I feel like we're definitely going to be working with each other in the film industry, if that's what you want to call it. So yeah, it was super nice to work with him.
That's fantastic. And more to come. And Conor, how did you get involved in it all? What interested you to want to go into filmmaking and directing and writing?
Yeah, I grew up in rural New Hampshire, way up north, almost in Canada. And I don't know. I think I was, a little bit, shy maybe at first. I don't know. But I really had a love for filmmaking, and I just really found filmmaking to be something that I looked forward to. Just watching movies, talking about movies, and that translated into me getting cameras from relatives. I remember my grandparents got me this little editing software, and I was, figuring out how to make lightsabers and stuff like that in there. And this is, 8 years old. And I would watch a movie almost every night with my dad. The film's dedicated to him. And it was, it was a fun education. It was, you want to see a great movie? And then it was every night, you want to see a great movie? Here's a great movie. And there's so many great movies. And so I've just always loved filmmaking. And I never thought I would really do it as an adult. I went to college, I got my business degree, and just something hit me after graduating. I was like, I can't, go work with this degree in an office, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, I was like, I have this love for movies, and and I just kind of gave it all up. I threw away that entire life and just decided to start chasing filmmaking. And now I've kind of put everything into that. So there's no going back now. I've been doing filmmaking for years. So this is really the only way forward. But I'm so happy with that decision. I feel so much more connected to myself because I think, movies were my childhood love. So it's a dream to be able to do that and have movies and, have people on this call be your friends and, be hanging out with actors and composers, and it's surreal sometimes for me. But no, it feels good to be living the childhood dream, of course. I'm just really grateful.
Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that, guys. Gives a perspective to our audience as far as some of the backgrounds and the passion that you guys have for what you're doing. And definitely more to come. I just want to let folks know just a little bit about it. You saw the trailer, but Dead Whisper really centers on Elliot Campbell and, of course, that's Sam's character, a Cape Cod lawyer drawn to a mysterious island where he's tempted by a reunion with his dead daughter, but at the peril of his own soul. So there's a lot to wrap around all that. And again, it's where can people see it? I know some of our viewers who have been welcoming you, we've been showing some great comments from every Pat Collins and everybody watching has some really beautiful things they've been saying, and they're rooting you guys on. Where can it be seen?
Yeah, you can watch it on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, a variety, like really anywhere on demand, honestly, that you want to watch it.
Do you want to also put it out in theaters or put it on like Tubi?
It was in theaters a couple of weeks ago. It's still playing at a select few number of independent theaters. It's going to be playing tomorrow for a one-night special event in Portland, Maine at the Nickelodeon Theater. And then you want to talk about the screening up in your neck of the woods, Birk?
Yeah, it's also, we're going to align the two screenings for 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So we have the one in Portland, Maine, and then we have one in Bronxville, New York at the Picture House Film Center. I'm going to be there at the one in New York. So whoever is listening and wants to come, I'm happy to talk more about the film.
It's kind of neat,
beautiful,
Jim, because we've had the opportunity kind of, because there have been, select theaters around the country that have been airing this, to kind of go to our own little premieres. We all were together for CineQuest when we obviously got the nomination, and then the best horror thriller win in San Jose, and that's when the movie was called Whisper. But when Vertical picked us up, they altered the name with Conor to Dead Whisper. That's Sam actually winning the award for us. Sam had already won another award. We had left the festival. Sam was in 2 movies
picking up your scraps,
and that's the director of his other film giving him the bow, which is a very exciting film that's making its rounds in the festival right now. But I was in Atlanta to do a screening with my family. Conor got to do it at multiple places in New England. He got to do it in Salem, Massachusetts, which I almost made it to. Burke's getting to do it in Westchester, where he lives and where he was raised, tomorrow night. I know that theater. What's the theater that you were raised at, or around your hometown, Sam?
That's the Nickelodeon, where it's playing tomorrow night.
Awesome. So it's kind of been fun. We've all had our own little premieres on the big screen too, and I think this movie works the best on the big screen. Absolutely, but it looks great on on my 70-inch flat screen. So just saying.
I'm sure it does, and and of course we're talking about the sets, the locations, everything else. There's also the makeup, and we do have a little clip here of you with the makeup, Rob. Did you want to set that up? It's like a little 25-second clip.
Listen, Kelly Harris did our makeup. She did a fantastic job. Everything we did was practical. There was very little sweetening as far as special effects is concerned. Just didn't have the budget for it. Conor, again, wore many hats. And I went through 1, 2, 3, 4 stages of aging throughout the process, where I started as me, the bartender, and then I went in another 20 years, and then went another 25 years, and then I went another 25 years. That's the guy that took 4 hours in makeup. And I think we have a clip of Kelly putting me in my makeup. Did I send you that one?
Yeah, a little 25-second clip here, Rob, makeup process. Let's take a look at that right now. Here it is. Kind of cool, huh?
Well, it was very hot in there, by the way.
It was a warm summer. Yeah.
And where was this shot, this particular location?
Conor?
Sorry, yeah, this is actually where I went to college, Stonehill College. They had this back in the day, but they have this beautiful estate there, and they let us shoot there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Easton, Massachusetts.
Wow. Yeah, because you think about, all those elements that go into it all, the makeup and everything else, and what it takes to put it all together. What is the ultimate hope and goal for this particular movie? Have you reached it? Are there more things you want to do with it? Or is this a launch for other things you want to do? Are there other things you want to do with this particular movie as far as getting it out there?
I'll speak on the business side. We have opportunities overseas. We haven't even begun to.
Terrific.
So this movie with Vertical is North America and UK, but we are dealing with international interested parties right now. Again, as looking into the IP of follow-ups. When we can raise a bigger budget and bring on different people. As far as creatively, I'm not sure Conor would have to speak on that side.
Yeah, I think creatively, I'm really satisfied with the film's performance. I mean, I think it's one of those projects that just keeps kind of surprising us, and how far it's traveling and how far it's going. And I think there's been so many lovely, opportunities with it. And I think, I'm very proud of where this ended up and the reach that it's had and the impact, in the industry. And I think in terms of, this concept and exploring it more, I think I'd love to do that. There's a good opportunity to come back to it. And I think, in terms of business opportunities, I mean, there's a lot of, potential, I think, to bring it overseas to more countries. And I think, I'm very excited to, also, work on a different story for a little while too, which is what Sam and I have been writing. And I think that's a refreshing thing. That's in Washington State in the woods. So it's a nice shift from the New England weather, of course. But I think it'll be good to step away for a little bit too and just kind of watch this thing go.
That is cool. And I'm sure you guys will make more magic. This is really, kudos to all of you. A lot of hard work and, being in these industries, I fully understand it. And you guys have a lot to be proud of. And it's a nice little team you've got here. And there's others. Are there any others of the performers who aren't with us tonight that are also in it, and other crew or anybody else that you'd love to mention and pay heed to while we're here together?
Sure. I mean, I think we had, amazing actors and actresses on this film: Samantha Hill, Tanis Royce, Dane Ross, Bruce Winan, Hester Wilkinson, all gave wonderful performances. Chris Goodwin, Cody Gillum, all amazing actors. And then I think, for the crew, the big shout out, of course, is our cinematographer, Ben Grant, who's not here, but just amazing. I mean, if you're someone who likes movies that look good, follow that guy's career. He just makes stunning work with his talent. And, I think any project he's attached to is just going to probably look 10 times the budget it should. So, definitely follow his work too. And I mean, he's just a wonderful creative behind the camera. But no, I think, we had a wonderful cast on this that supported it all the way through distribution. Even people in very small roles turning out for screenings, sharing it around. So, we're really grateful for the whole team on this.
It really is something, I tell you. And it's I'm so glad that we got a chance to share it with everybody, just a little snippet of it. And again, remind our viewers of where they can catch it, because they are definitely asking.
Sure. Yeah, you can watch it on Amazon Prime and Apple TV right now if you want to. And then, like Birk mentioned, she'll be playing in Bronxville and in Portland, Maine tomorrow if you want to go see it on the big screen. But, please watch it. And, more importantly, after watching, make sure to tell other people about it and tell them to go check it out. There, I really think with filmmaking, a big part of it is a personal recommendation to go watch a movie. So
absolutely takes a village. Is there a website or anywhere that they can go to?
Yeah, you can go to www.deadwhispermovie.com.
Deadwhispermovie.com.
You can find we're screening on there too. And then we're on Instagram with Dead Whisper Movie. My Instagram is Conor_Sauce. If you want to give me a follow, I have an exclusive scene from the movie on there too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Also, I want to give a shout out to we got a lot of love from TikTok on this film. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting. They actually, to the point of so much love that other people were saying we paid for it. And I can assure you, we had $0 to pay for any of this. Every dollar spent was put in that movie, man.
Yeah.
Including going into our own pockets. So,
yeah. That is great. Kenneth is here and says, good to see positive responses to the movie from around the world, which is really, thanks for saying that. We really appreciate that. And everybody that's been commenting, they've been saying great things. Emily says, the movie is definitely worth seeing, which is fantastic. A lot of them love the trailer. Austin Fields said, I like that trailer. It looks creepy. Sherry says, wow. And Kathleen, Sherry's in Kansas. Kathleen is in New York City. Wow, looks good. This is great. Thanks for all these great comments. You guys are, great trailer. Merlin's watching in Ontario, Canada. Loved it. And a couple of really nice comments we've been getting throughout. Giuseppe said, hello, everyone. Great movie. Pat Collins said, based on the final product, you can tell everyone put their heart and soul into the project. Really, really cool. Thanks for these ongoing. There's tons of comments here. If you haven't seen it, you need to. Pierre Kelly said he's even voting for you guys to be on Tubi and Plex and even Pluto TV. He wants you omnipresent.
Well, I think, one of the interesting opportunities we have too is with the, we first go to the video on demand portion, and then after a while, then you can possibly make it around to the subscription-based Netflix, Hulu.
Cool. Good stuff. It was really cool chatting with you guys, and I really appreciate all the time. And you're all welcome back. I always tell everybody, we'll keep the porch light on for you. You can come back collectively. If you individually want to come on as guests to talk about things you're working on as well, you're all welcome back. And really appreciate all the time. You're very generous with your time. And I wish you guys nothing but continued success. Let's all definitely stay in touch. And I really, wish you all the very, very best. And congratulations on it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
for having us, Jim.
Thank you.
The pleasure
Great
is
show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Pleasure is all mine. Spread the word. Tell everybody about the Jim Masters Show Live series. It takes a village, and this will be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. So anybody that missed it live can see the whole thing in perpetuity, 24/7, 365 on the YouTube channel. A real pleasure, and thanks for all of the time, and really, truly hope you enjoy the time with me as much as I have with you guys. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
See you soon, brother, for the next one, right?
Yes, and keep me posted on the Rocktopia and what you're working on with that. We'll have you back for that, Rob, Conor, thanks for being with us, my friend, okay?
No, thank you for having me. Yeah. Really
all right, we'll see you again. And Sam, stay in touch. You're welcome back as well. Thanks for joining us as well, my friend.
Thank you very much, Jim.
All right, you take care. Kale, thank you for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me. Great conversation.
Absolutely. And come back and see us, okay?
For sure.
Absolutely. And we thank Rob and Birk. Congratulations.
Jim,
really appreciate your being with us as well.
Lovely meeting you. Thank you for having me on. I'm sure
it's
we'll
like
be in
full
touch.
circle with your father and son.
I know. Crazy.
You have any cousins you want to have come on? They're welcome too.
Well, yeah, we have some family who also want to get into the film industry. So it's all,
there you go.
Yeah, mingling together.
All right. Tell everybody you know about our show, and a pleasure having you here. You be well, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye now. Really fantastic having such a great group here on our show. And again, here is that movie. Wow. We really appreciate the guys being here, the cast and crew. Not all of the cast. There are more people that are in it, from an acting standpoint, and more crew, of course. But these are some of the key people that were joining us here on the show. And if this was your first time watching the Jim Masters Show Live series, this episode is archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Definitely come see us again. If you love this, give this episode a like, the thumbs up like on the YouTube channel. Share this episode on your social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, where there's oh my God, there's about almost 1,200 episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series archived on our YouTube channel for all of you to enjoy. Well, the guests from all different backgrounds. It's really cool stuff. Celebrity friends from Hollywood and Broadway, television, film, music, sports stars, comedy. We have it all here on our Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. So definitely come see us again. Subscribe. Leave a comment for us too in the comment section. There's a comment section underneath all the episodes. Definitely interact with us. Leave a comment. Subscribe, share, like, and if you do click the subscribe button, it doesn't cost anything to do that. We'd love to have you with us, part of the Jim Masters Show Lovity family. Definitely click the notification bell icon, that little bell icon, so you'll get alerts about all the great guests and episodes we have. Hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and you can watch them all. You can see this again too. It is now archived, and for those that are watching live, and you can binge watch some of your favorite episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series again, or go back and scroll in the hundreds of incredible guests and amazing episodes we've had with some guests that maybe you've missed and episodes that you've missed, including some of our famous pop-up shows where we do viewer chats and all kinds of cool stuff. Quite interactive here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Thanks for all the great comments. We thank our illustrious group joining us here. Rob Evan, of course, you know, an incredible figure in theater and television and music, from Rocktopia, from Trans-Siberian Orchestra, from Broadway, from so much. His son, Birk, fabulous, talented producer, lead producer of this movie. Samuel Dunning, a brilliant actor in a lot of great shows and performances. Great to have him here. And Nikhil, fantastic musician, arranger, composer, great visionary. And Conor Soucy, the director and writer, sort of coming up with the idea for the movie. We appreciate Conor joining us as well. And really, really cool to have this wonderfully assembled team here from Dead Whisper joining us here, the psychological thriller that it is. That's a cool graphic, isn't it? Gang, my name is Jim Masters. I'm your host. If this is your first time here, welcome. It's great to have you here. If you've been here several thousand times as we've done all these shows, it's good to see you again as well. And thanks for all the great comments, everybody. Loved all these great comments. You guys are fantastic. We have amazing, amazing shows and amazing viewers, and we thank every single one of you, whether you're watching live or you're watching this Memorex, meaning you're watching this archived. We thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us. And come see us again. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well on the Jim Masters Show Live series. And if this is your first time watching, welcome to JMS. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. Love having you here. All right, come see us again, and be well. Take care of one another. Love one another. Don't forget to take care of yourself and love yourself. And join us again right here in Lovity Hall on the Jim Masters Show. Cool place to come. For some good times, laughs, and some great conversations too, and a lot of inspiration here at JMS. We love having you here. Take care, be well. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.